Okay, so I think is this minimize. Okay, so today I am going to show you the data engineering tracks for DataQuest and DataCamp. We're going to go through both of them because they are not the same. They are completely, they have different focuses. So let's go ahead and start with, I want to start with um, DataCamp. Let's start with DataCamp. So I'm going to click, I could click resume, but I'm just going to go straight to it. Okay, so data camp, of course, they give you a Python assessment. They want to test your Python because you do need to know basic Python. I think probably almost intermediate Python to do this course, but I would think basic at least. However, you take this assessment and they're supposed to let you know what the case is. And I'm sure if you don't do well on this assessment, they'll probably say, here's a Python course that you need to take. I do believe that that's what happened to me years ago or a year ago. Okay, so they have an introduction to data engineering. Um, I think I went and completed that. Let me take a look and see if I can get the breakdown. Okay, yeah. So, introduction to data engineering consists of the data engineering toolbox. This is just basic. Many of you may already have the high level. So introduction, it actually tells you what data engineering is and all of that type of stuff. Uh, Data engineering toolbox, let's see what's in there. Talks about databases. This is the basics. So a lot of this stuff you should have an idea of. Mentions talks about PySpark, Airflow. Even if you don't know what a lot of these programs actually do, you should have at least heard about most of them in here. Parallel computation frameworks. So it's a lot in here in this data engineering toolbox. I haven't gone through this course, but I've done a lot of free studying on my own. Then they have extract, transform, and load. They're teaching you the ETL process. Um, this is pretty good, pretty thorough, I think, from a quick look. Then they give you a case study, which is pretty good. Let's take a look at the case study. Exploring the schema, querying tables, um, and this is pretty good. I think this is pretty good for beginning stages to make sure that you actually know all of the stuff you're getting involved in. So I'm going to say that's pretty cool. So let me see. Okay, so let me flip these up, and okay, so that's the beginners courses. So now let's take a look. Let's go back here. Nah, I don't want to go there. Now, as you can see, one of the things is navigating through. Sometimes it's a little tricky navigating through this website. I'm just trying to, take a look at the overall courses. Okay, so well, maybe I was trying to, go too deep into it, but I wanted you to be able to see what's in each of these. So that's pretty good for introduction to data engineering. And then we have streamlined data ingestion with pandas. That's very important. This is a 4-hour course with Imani Mahfouz. I don't want to mess up their name. Let me forget. Let me not say their name. So you're being taught a course, a 4-hour course by data science. It says learn to acquire. I'll just do the high level. Learn to acquire data from common file formats and systems such as CSV, spreadsheets, JSON, SQL databases, etc. Highly important, very important. Okay, writing efficient Python code. Learn to write efficient code that executes quickly and allocates resources skillfully to avoid unnecessary overhead. Highly important, especially in this industry. They want you to know there was a time where you didn't have to know as much programming and it was all about SQL for data engineers. Now they want you to be really good at programming because they want you to be able to come in behind, let's say you're coming in behind another data engineer and they want you to make their pipeline more efficient. So you're going to need to have some skills to be able to come behind someone else's work and improve it. Introduction to Shell, that's very important. Unix command line help users combine existing programs in new ways. automate repetitive tasks and run programs. And then there's more to that. I won't go in there to detail. Highly important. Most of the jobs I see for data engineers, they do mention bash scripting. So DataCamp has two courses on this one. This one is data processing in shell. Learn powerful command line skills to download, process, and transform data, including machine learning pipelines. Now, from what I'm taking in so far, from what I'm gathering so far, DataCamp is really trying to make sure you know exactly what you will be expected to do. They're really trying to prepare you really well. And I'm not going to say that this is in depth, a deep dive into it, but at least you'll have the basics. Okay, so they give you two shell courses and one bash scripting. I think this is very important because this course is Introduction to Bash Scripting is dedicated to creating those scripts. Learning the shell is just could be learning their way around, learning basic shell commands, moving around with folders. So they all have a different focus. So each of these shell courses have a different focus. Unit tests for data science in Python. That's very important. Now they want you to test your code. They want data engineers. This is one of the reasons why I think they want a data engineer who has a software background. They want you to be able to test your pipelines. And you can only do that if you have a software engineering mind frame. So they want to prepare you for that. So far, I'm pretty much really liking this path. Okay, so this is object-oriented programming in Python. Of course, that's basic Python. Dive in and learn how to create classes and leverage inheritance and polymorphism to reuse and optimize code. Pretty good. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so this next one is Introduction to Airflow in Python. You do need to know what Airflow is or some sort of workflow management tool. If it's not Airflow, you need to know another one. Like I think is it Luigi is another one. Introduction to PySpark. You need to be familiar with Spark, especially if you're trying to get work with big data. And PySpark is a package of Spark. I use it quite often. So it's pretty. It gives you that Python. Um, it gives you so if you're familiar with pandas, you'll easily adapt to PySpark when you're trying to manipulate large data sets. Okay, so the next one is Introduction to AWS Bodo. This is the AWS API that allows you to be able to send files back and forth to AWS. Learn about AWS Bodo and harnessing cloud technology to optimize your data workflow. I really like this. And this instructor is actually a data engineer. You'll notice a lot of the other instructors are, well, there's a couple. There's a couple that's actually data engineers. A lot of the other instructors are data scientists. And we all know that data scientists can just about do the job of a data engineer, I think, personally, if they wanted to. Okay, then this is Test Your Newly Acquired Skills. They give you a analysis in SQL. I can't talk today for some reason. And then use PostgreSQL. Doesn't surprise me. I love PostgreSQL. So, if you're not into PostgreSQL, maybe you may not be feeling it. But I do, even when you're working with Amazon, you do get the sense, you understand that they do love PostgreSQL. After all, Redshift is created on several PostgreSQL servers. I don't know why I can't talk today. Introduction to relational databases in SQL. I'm sure at this point you know the basics of relational databases, but it's always good to have that refresher course. Database design, really good. Introduction to Scala. I never learned Scala, so I'm not sure if I did kind of, I like to brush up on different things. So I was thinking about possibly just running through this entire track. I'm not sure if I would learn Scala though. Big data fundamentals with PySpark. Definitely worth you checking out, especially if you are trying to get into big data. You need to stay current with all the tools and trends and everything that is current in big data. Okay, cleaning data with PySpark. So Here, they're just teaching you the fundamentals of PySpark, which is important, highly important. And here, they're specific to teaching you how to clean data. I like that. I like how they focus in on certain things. And once again, it's being taught by a data engineer. He's teaching a couple courses on here. And this was Introduction to MongoDB in Python. This is this is a good inclusion into this whole package because you need to know how to work with those application databases. Learn to manipulate and analyze flexibly structured data in MongoDB. So let's see. And then at that point, you get your statement of accomplishment. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what I fully think of that before I go to DataQuest. Let's go to DataQuest. Bam, bam. Okay, so let's look at DataQuest data engineering track. They said it's a 5 month. Now, how long is this? Just to give someone an idea, this data engineering track with DataCamp is 73 hours, 19 courses. You know what I'm saying? If you do like 2 hours a day for it'll be a while. I don't know. I don't feel like doing the calculation right now, but 73 hours for that course. Um, this one is 5 months. I'm pretty sure both of these courses are around 5 or 6 months. That's what they're anticipating. But depending on how fast you progress, you can get done much faster, I'm sure. Okay, so I scrolled down to where the courses are actually outlined. And with DataQuest, Introduction to Python, first DataQuest is like, listen, we need you to know how to program, and we're not going to discuss nothing else. We're going to get you ready with the basics of Python first. It's a Python for data engineering, but is it really Python for data engineering? Let's see. Learn the fundamentals of Python programming in context of data engineering and data science. That's very important because you do use programming languages in certain ways, but when it comes to certain careers. For example, a data analyst uses pandas Python library a lot. So there are certain things that you'll focus on. I do like it when I see a program that hones in on a specific career path. Okay, they have part two to that one, so that's the next step to that one. And let's see, I'm trying to look at how they're, and then they have Python, intermediate Python, and programming concepts with Python. So they have those 4 courses here in part one. Now here's part two. Okay, so now part two, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now let's look at part two. Part two, algorithm complexity. Okay, so it looks like DataQuest is focused on you knowing how to program really, really well because they want to prepare you. Um, they want to make sure that you understand algorithms, and not and it's just not to prepare you for programming. I think they also want to prepare you for those assessments to even begin to get the job. So I'm starting to see the focus. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Command line Git, very important. A lot of work environments, you'll be in those environments with those software engineers, so you need to know how to work in that environment. Okay, let's see. Working with data sources, SQL fundamentals, and then intermediate SQL. So they want to look like they want to get you up to speed. They're not going to start you off at intermediate level. They're going to start you off at the beginning and get you to intermediate. Although I think that if you do want to be a data engineer, ultimately you're going to have advanced SQL. That's beyond this. And there are some good courses out there on LinkedIn. There is a course. I'm going to put this course in the box, in the description box. If you are looking for an advanced course, I would highly recommend it. One of the best instructors that I have ever watched with SQL. You'll be advanced, really, really advanced when you're done with that course. So let's go to the next one. Production databases. Again, I like the focus. Production databases, that's what you will be working with as a data engineer. Postgres for data engineers, optimizing Postgres. Both of these both of these companies are relying on Postgres. It's a popular database, although I see MySQL and SQL Server probably more than Postgres. But I personally love it because I work with Postgres. So if you are into Postgres, this would be your thing. Okay, now handling large data sets in Python. Here, NumPy for data engineers, the fundamentals of NumPy, that's a library in Python. Again, data analysts tend to use it a lot. So they're really trying to prepare your programming skills. They're really trying to get you up to speed in the area of programming. Processing large data sets and pandas, that's important. That's very, very important. Learn how to work with medium-sized data sets by optimizing your pandas workflow, processing data in batches, and augmenting pandas with SQLite. They use SQLite here. Okay, let's see. Parallel processing, very important. Learn parallel processing and map reduce. You do need to know that, especially when you're dealing with, what did I say before? Big data. When you're working with big data, you need to understand parallel processing because you're going to have to process large amounts of data, and it allows you to process and perform transformation on large amounts of data at the same time. So it's like breaking all that data up and performing transformations on each segment of that data, of those sets. Data structures, fundamentals. Now, I'm sure by this point you get a good idea on what DataQuest focus is, especially when you see recursion in trees. Learn about recursion and how it applies to tree data structures. To tree data structure. That is right. Okay. So interesting. And you can clearly see that the focus of DataCamp and DataQuest is completely different, not even remotely similar. Building a data pipeline. I love it. They said, listen, we're going to teach you how to do what you will be doing. Instead of just teaching you a bunch of random Python, we're going to teach you exactly how to build a pipeline from scratch. Okay, so now let me give my assessment. I'm sure you know by now what my assessment is. Um, I think both of these tracks are amazing. I personally feel like if you want to truly fully prepare yourself to be a data engineer, take both of them. I would take both. I don't think one is better than the other. I think they have different focuses. I believe DataQuest is more focused on your programming skills and your programming ability, algorithms, Git. They're taking that software approach. They want to make sure that you are a good programmer. If nothing else, you'll get that from here. But notice how with DataQuest, let me pull this up here. But notice with DataQuest, do I got all those lists? Okay. Now here's all the programs for DataQuest. Notice how there is no bash scripting at all in here. None. They give you some of the command line, but there's really no heavy focus on using the command on bash scripting basically. And that is something I think it lacks, but they have something that Data Camp doesn't have. They have a strong focus on the skills that will get you in the door, because we all know that you have to pass those assessments. And if you don't know those algorithms, you will not be able to pass those Python assessments and answer those Python those algorithm questions that you'll be asked at most jobs. So I feel like DataCamp said, listen, we want to teach you what will get. We want you to have a good understanding of data engineering, but we want to teach you what will get you in the door to even be able to have that experience. I feel as though DataCamp did a really, really good job of giving you an overall experience of what a data engineer will be doing. And I like the focus. I like the focus on writing efficient code. So they do have an area here for writing good code. Um, Let me click into it before okay. So they do have a good focus on writing efficient code. What DataCamp doesn't have is the algorithms. So I'm not saying that you won't be prepared to pass those assessments. I'm just saying that I think that that's the difference in the focus. And of course, DataCamp is teaching you a lot about bash scripting, and you will be working on a command line quite often in most of these organizations. So I think it's pretty good. Um, if you're really passionate, I know this may sound obsessive or whatever, but if you're really passionate about data engineering, why not take both? Why not just set aside a couple, maybe 3 months to work on this, set aside some time and knock them out. I think with Data Camp it's like $39 a month. I believe with DataQuest is around the same because you know they're competitors and competing with each other. Both of these programs are really attractive to me. I would probably start with Data Camp. For some reason, I just like the whole feel of it better. But outside of that, there are some things I like about both. I can see myself combining things out of both. If if Data Camp snuck in some algorithms and things like that, I think I would just take the Data Camp one. Good. If you're somebody who loves algorithms and love the programming, if you love programming over everything else, you're gonna probably, you know, gravitate towards the Data Quest approach. But also remember, Data Quest didn't mention Spark. These are, and it could be in there. I just didn't see it. As I look through here, it may be in there somewhere, but it's not really sticking out that their focus is on big data. I'm thinking handling large data sets in Python is good here. And then they have something for parallel processing. So it could be, it could be in here. But with DataCamp, they want you to know Spark. And see, they're talking about MapReduce here. So these programs, these tracks are really good, guys. I would recommend if you're trying to get into data engineering, check them out. Make sure you stick with whichever one you choose, stick with it, push through it, no matter what, set a schedule so that you can be successful. All right. Till next time, this is He Loves Data. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel if you like my content. All right. Peace.